Hello everyone, my name is Zoran Sultana Hussain, bearing the ID number SUOL2300098, and today I'm going to give a presentation on Gibb's supportive communication. So the Gibb supportive communication model is an evidence-based framework developed from Jack R. Gibb's empirical work in the late 1950s and early 1960s, originally sponsored by the Office of Naval Research at the University of Toledo. His observations of small group interactions led to the identification of defensive behaviors that hinder open dialogue and their supportive counterparts that foster trust, psychological safety, and collaboration. The core insight is that the emotional and relation climate in which communication occurs profoundly shapes how messages are received and acted upon. When people feel threatened, they become defensive and self-protective, whereas supportive climates reduce the barrier and enable constructive exchange. Over time, the model has been compared into interpersonal skills training, leadership development, conflict resolution, and adapted for multicultural and digital contexts. Its clarity and empirical backing keeping it relevant across education, healthcare, corporate and virtual settings. Central to the model are 6 behavior pairs that contrast defensive with supportive communication styles. The first pair, evaluation versus description, contrasts blaming, you, centered judgments with neutral I, centered observational statements. Evaluation assigns fault and triggers resistance, while description conveys experience without accusation, reducing perceived threat and inviting dialogue. For instance, you never listen. Evaluative shuts down interaction, whereas I feel unheard when my ideas aren't acknowledged. Descriptive opens space for mutual understanding. The second pair, control versus problem orientation, distinguishes imposed directives from collaborative exploration. Control dictates solutions, creating powerlessness. Problem orientation frames issues as shared challenges. How can we address this together? Increasing buy-in and motivating collective ownership of outcomes. The third strategy versus spontaneity warns against hidden agendas and manipulative framing strategy in favor of transparent, genuine expression. Spontaneity, which builds trust by letting others respond to authentic information rather than guessing intentions. The fourth pair, neutrality versus empathy, highlights how detachment or differences alienates, whereas empathetic acknowledgement validates emotions and strengthens relational bonds. Expressing understanding, I understand, I understand how upsetting this might be for you. Quote, affirms experience and reduces isolation and is leveraged in counseling, leadership, and service contexts to support emotional well-being. The fifth pair, superiority versus equality, addresses power dynamics. Superiority stifles contribution through ranks or status signaling, while equality treats participants as peers, encouraging participation and psychological safety. Egalitarian language from leaders or educators promotes engagement and reduces resentment. The final pair, certainty versus provisionalism, contrasts dogmatic, closed positions while with openness to alternatives. Certainly, this this is the only one, freezes dialogue. Provisionalism, quote, this seems effective. What do you think? Bracket close. Invites input, adaptability, and creativity, making teams more reliant in complex environments. Understanding and shifting the communication climate, defined as the emotional tone and regional context of exchanges, is the mechanism through which these behavior pairs exert influence. Supportive communication cultivates safety and respect, reducing defensive self-protection and improving information flow, problem solving, and group cohesion. Practitioners can diagnose relational barriers by assessing which defensive behaviors dominate and apply targeted behavioral shifts to repair or enhance the climate. This diagnostic and intervention capacity explains why the model has been used to elevate individual well-being and collective performance in organizational, educational, and therapeutic settings. In educational settings, teachers replace evaluative feedback with descriptive statements and expressing empathy around learning difficulties foster stronger student engagement, reduced anxiety, and better academic outcomes. For example, pointing out specific strengths, quote, I noticed your argument includes strong evidence, bracket close, and acknowledging the struggle builds trust and encourages questions, making classrooms more inclusive and student-centered. Institutions include Gibb's principle in instructor training raise to raise instructional quality and support psychological safety. In organizational leadership, applying problem orientation and provisionalism during reviews or strategic conversations turn top-down evaluations into collaborating problem-solving sessions, enhancing innovative job satisfaction and ownerships. Departments that score high on supportive behaviors tend to have lower turnover and higher productivity. And leadership development uses simultaneous coaching ground in Gibbs model to train authentic, empathic leaders. Virtual and distributed teams face unique communication friction due to reduced nonverbal cues. By emphasizing spontaneity and empathy in digital interactions, such as transparent chat messaging and explicit emotional acknowledgement, teams can counteract misinterpretations and build psychological safety despite geographic and temporal separation. Organizations have employed communication audits to surface controlling or certain language, retained members towards provisionalist phasing, and run virtual workshops to sustain cohesion. Early research in distributed software development contexts links such training to fewer misunderstandings and stronger trust among remote collaborators. The model's effectiveness is supported by empirical evidence across sectors. Faculty surveys correlate supportive department share behaviors with greater trust, perceived effectiveness, and job satisfaction. Training workshops increase self-awareness and collaborative problem-solving skills in individuals, while meta-analysis how the supportive climates reduce both frequency and intensity of conflicts in group tasks. Even as cultural adaptations continue, consistent positive outcomes in healthcare, education, and corporate environments affirm the robustness of Gibb's framework for improving relational dynamics and performance. In conflict resolutions and counseling, replacing strategic or certain language with empathy and professionalism creates safe space for dialogue. This strengthens therapeutic alliances and enables de-escalation in family therapy and workplace meditation. Organizations embed these principles in conflict coaching programs to help employees address interpersonal issues constructively, making support for sustainable conflict making a natural extension of the model. In summary, Gibb's supportive communication model offers a practical layered method for transforming defensive interactions into cooperative, transparent, and adaptive communication. The six behavior pairs guide users towards disruptive, collaborative, authentic, empathic, egalitarian, and open-ended language, all of which contribute to healthier climates. Its application in education, leadership, virtual teamwork, and meditation have demonstrated measurable benefits, and future adaptations aim to nuisance its use in culturally diverse and AI-mediated communications context. As complexity in organizational and interpersonal systems grows, the model remains a foundational tool for cultivating trust, openness, and collective efficacy. I have included few references below to gain further knowledge on this topic. Thank you for your time.